Ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this special council meeting of January 15th, 2024 to order. I will request, please, that we stand for the national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Please be seated. I would like to begin by reading a safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate council chambers to the nearest exit through chamber doors and obey all instructions given. If assistance is required, please see Madam Clerk. Once you've evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of Town Hall. Please ensure your cell phones are on silent, or please turn them off. And lastly, the Town of Lincoln Council meetings are posted on your YouTube channel. Closed captioning is available in all our videos by selecting the closed captioning button on the bottom right of the video. The Town of Lincoln, being part of Niagara Region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Attawandaronk, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Members of Council are in attendance this evening with regrets from Councillor Pachariva and Councillor Timmers. We also have staff attending both in person and remotely. Do members of Council have any amendments to the order of the agenda? There being none, are there any declarations of interest? There being none, do members have any announcements? You're limited to 3. Go ahead, Councillor Njima.
Oh, okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So Councillor Russell and I are having a Ward 1 meeting this Thursday at the Fleming Centre, starting from 6:30 and running till 8:30. And as is always the fashion with Ward 1 meetings, there's no predetermined agenda. Councillor Russell and I like to have an open discussion with residents because there isn't much of a chance to do so through the term after we've knocked on doors for 2 months during election time. So again, it's an open agenda meeting. It starts at 6:30, January the 18th at the Fleming Centre. It will run until 8:30, and there'll be coffee and Timbits on site. And also, Madam Mayor, from the Chamber, as most of you have likely heard by now, the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce has a new executive director as of recently, and her name is Amelia Amaro. Amelia brings 17 years of entrepreneurial experience within the website design and marketing industries, and we welcome her. Also from the Chamber, there's a Business After 5 social at the new location of Beamsville's H&R Block on Ontario Street, at the corner of Ontario Street and Homestead Drive. That's this Thursday. Yeah, so at 5 PM, same day as our ward meeting, but I'll drop in there and then move over to the ward meeting. Don't know if I said it already, there's a big green H&R Block sign on the front lawn of the new location of H&R Block, so you can't miss it. That's everything, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. No other announcements, so we'll move on to item number 8, which is proclamations, and I have one proclamation this evening to recognize the Alzheimer's Society of Niagara and raise awareness of the disease. And I'll now read the proclamation. I'd ask you to pay very close attention to the numbers. I think you'll be quite shocked. Whereas Alzheimer Awareness Month is recognized during the month of January 2024 to raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Whereas there are over 630,000 Canadians living with Alzheimer's disease, with a projected population of 1 million Canadians diagnosed and living with dementia by 2030. Whereas each day more than 350 people in Canada develop dementia, which is approximately 15 people every hour. Whereas most people living with dementia are over the age of 65, and a small number of people ranging in age between 40 to 50 can develop dementia, which is known as young onset dementia. Whereas Niagara has an aging population, and in 2021, the town of Lincoln was reported to have 22.3% of its population over 65 years of age, in comparison to Canada's population of seniors being 19%. As of 2024, approximately 11,750 individuals are living with dementia across Niagara. Whereas the Alzheimer's Society of Niagara provides social and wellness programs, education, and offers support for both the person living with dementia and their care partners, separately and together, and by raising awareness and sharing stories, those diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and their care partners feel heard, respected, and included in the town of Lincoln. Now, therefore, I, Sandra Easton, Mayor of the town of Lincoln, do hereby proclaim January 2024 as National Alzheimer Month. Thank you very much, councillors. We move on to recognition and achievements, and we have none this evening. We have no delegations and presentations, and we have no additional items for consideration. We have no motion for previous council meetings, and we have no recommendations from committees. All of this, of course, is pretty standard when we call a special meeting. There is no notice of motion. There are no reports of municipal officers this evening. And we have no motion to consider confidential matters. We do, however, have a motion to approve bylaws. We have 2 bylaws for consideration this evening, and I'll ask if members have any questions. Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. It's with regards to bylaw 2024-01 regarding the various fees and charges.
Yes.
The question I have is, we looked at this during the committee of the whole, but I didn't really at that time have, go through that document to the detail that I think I should have. And one of the things that I noticed was that, when extensions to site plans and extensions to redevelopments, the extension cost, the fee is $1,620 currently, and we're proposing to go to $1,669. And I'm wondering if we should be looking at, and for this year, it's too late, because it's already been established and we're just ratifying it tonight. But I'm just wondering in the future if we should be reviewing that number, not just with ourselves as far as that amount, whether it's appropriate, but at higher levels to stimulate actual feet on the shovels of developments that we approve. Because what we're doing, what I'm sensing is that land, and from what I heard at the meeting that was held last week at the, with regards to amalgamation or the possibility of governance review, there's a lot of units or a lot of houses that are approved, and it's just getting the feet on the shovels to actually move these things forward. And is that really an appropriate amount, like $1,600, less than $2,000 to keep a subdivision active and on the books for another 2 years? I feel like it's a trivial amount and not enough to stimulate actual building.
Okay, I certainly, I hear you, Councillor, and I think a number of us have heard the same information. There are 39,000 housing starts that have been approved in Niagara, and so the question is, why aren't they starting? So, Director, who's going to take this? The treasurer or Matt? You're going to take it, Mr. Bruder? Okay, Director Bruder? What's your excuse?
All my fault. Thanks, Your Worship.
See, I was looking to the treasurer. I didn't know you were putting your neck on the line, but go ahead.
All right. Through you, Your Worship. I can tell you how we got to that number. Why don't I start there? So what we did, it was part of our overall, if council will recall, not all that long ago, we did a whole comprehensive review of all of our fees. This involved work with Watson and Associates to validate the information, and the information really flowed from a variety of staff members that are involved in these various planning applications in terms of trying to evaluate how much time and resources are taken or utilized for those types of applications. And that's essentially how we arrived at the numbers that we did. But, I don't want to take away any validity from the point in terms of there are, not as much in Lincoln, although we do have some, but, a lot of housing starts that are currently waiting in the wings, approved, nothing happening. I have seen other municipalities that charge significantly more. I've seen them within the region. I've seen the range from under $1,000 to over $4,000. I don't know how those on the upper end arrived at their numbers. I just know how we arrived at ours. I would say that I think this is part of a larger conversation of which maybe this is one input. The simple answer is, can we look in the future at increasing this? Sure. But ultimately speaking, I don't know that it's going to be the silver bullet to address this issue, only because, when you look at what these fees are for too, they're pretty large files we're talking about. We're talking about draft plan approval extensions for subdivisions, condominiums, typically multi-unit, typically fairly large, a few $1,000s. I would venture to say at the end of the day is probably not gonna, move the needle in terms of them, it holding their feet to the fire to start or not. So I think, it's point well taken and something that I'll continue to mull over and discuss. We've talked about it at area planners meetings with other planners throughout the municipalities in the region to address this issue. There hasn't been one good stance formulated yet, but it is top of mind. But I think this is just one small part of a larger conversation. But ultimately speaking, we can definitely consider it as we move forward. I hope that just clarifies how we got here, and some of the factors.
No, and thank you, through you. No, I think it's just frustrating when, you drive by subdivisions and you see proposals and the wooden signs up, the billboard sign, and it's blown over because it's been up for 10 years. And I think a good message to send to redevelopers, land redevelopers, because they're just looking to seek a profit, which is fine, but they're not actually intending on building. And this is a bit frustrating when the cost is only $1,670 to renew that proposal, where I think a message, say no, it's come before us and time's up, come up with something new or start building. And I think that's the message that has to be conveyed, not just by us, but by others within the province. So those are my comments, and that's why I bring this up, just for that reason.
Mr. Bruder, thank you very much, Councillor Mikulik. Go ahead, Mr. Bruder.
Thanks, Your Worship. I did want to add to, I'm going off a little bit, but when it comes to site plans, we do have a sunset clause in our agreements. Typically, we have in there that developers have to pull permit within 2 years of issuance or approval of the site plan application. I know it's not necessarily exactly what we're talking about, but it's part of a solution for that particular type of planning application. So, again, something we can factor in and consider maybe on a wider spectrum of planning applications moving forward. It's hard at the land use approval stages, like at zoning and official plan, because the problem is that's very preliminary and there's a whole detailed design process that comes in after that. So it's kind of difficult to put a sunset clause on the land use permissions initially that are granted by council, but I just wanted to highlight that we do have some measures in some of our agreements, and the consequence is, well then, if permits are pulled and there's no good reason as to why, well then, could require a new site plan application, they could have to start over, which could be, that's a little bit more in terms of onerous for them to deal with as an outcome. But just wanting to highlight that and definitely willing to continue considering other alternatives or measures that we can implement to address this issue, because I do agree that it is an issue.
Thank you very much. And I thank members of council for entertaining the comments I made. Just, it could have been just a regular, all in favor and those opposed. But in this case, I thought it was something worthwhile bringing up, just especially with what's been going on lately. So thank you.
Well, I think it's true, Councillor Mikulik, the staff do go through these, and I know they do a very thorough review, but it may be time for us to have a review from our perspective. So we'll see what the future holds, but you can always bring a motion forward if you want to take a closer look at these. Mr. CAO, do you have anything to say about this process?
Madam Chair, Councillor Rizal, all members of council. Councillor Mikulik, Director Bruder, and I did speak about this earlier, and I think both Matt and I agreed in a lot of ways with what the council was raising. I thought it was a good question. And to your comment or point about maybe us looking at this moving forward, we don't necessarily want to be an outlier, but I think, there are times where maybe we want to be a little more aggressive, and this may be one of them. So we can explore that and definitely maybe have something in place for 2024.
Okay, satisfactory? Great.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, I should have said 2025. Through 2024, we'll have it in place for next year.
Okay, great, thanks very much. Thanks very much. Okay, Councillor Russell, go ahead. Oops, I have to do my thing here. Magic touch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A very, very quick follow-up to Councillor Mikulik's question. So just to clarify, are there any limitations on what that fee has to be, or within what limits it has to be? Like theoretically, could you apply that same fee per unit if you wanted to?
Through you, Your Worship, if you're asking me if there's an actual hard and fast for that specific application fee, I would say nothing that I've seen anywhere legislated. But again, when we look at these fees, usually the nature of planning application fees is, again, not to charge an overly onerous amount. What we're trying to do is cover the staff time and resources that are utilized to deal with that application. So, we could charge more, but again, I think, other than that range that I told you about, we'd be a little bit of an outlier. I don't think I've seen anything too much higher than that. But we could explore higher for sure. We'd just be outside of the norm, I would say, but there's no hard and fast. I just think, moreover, there's probably another solution that can be sought, maybe something outside of this particular fee that we could also explore. And I think, in working with our CAO and working with the planners around the region, this is already top of mind, and I'm hoping that a more fulsome solution comes out of those discussions.
Okay, thank you for that. And just a quick follow-up comment. I find it, again, the timeliness of the slowdown, obviously, it makes perfect sense when interest rates were 0.25 or at 0%. We had, again, no shortage of interest developers looking to build and build as quickly as possible. And we were seeing builds go up quite often. The interest rates go up and obviously everything slows right down. So obviously that's at probably the developer's behest. So again, I think Councillor Mikulik made a great point that maybe this is something that we can, one of the little maybe small tools we can put in our toolbox to maybe, again, protect our residents from ensuring that we are getting as much revenue as possible from these locations as quickly as possible, even if the developer is delaying a build. So again, it may even just be a small amount, but again, if we can make a per unit charge and say it's a 1,000 unit building that's going up, or say 500, 1,000's a lot, hopefully it's not more than one, that we can, again, get some money back that we can start using for infrastructure amenities around that area. So, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I don't see any other councillors on the list. I have a motion moved by Councillor Mikulik and seconded by Councillor Russell that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2024-01, a bylaw to establish and regulate payment of various fees and charges within the town of Lincoln. 2024-02, a bylaw to provide for interim tax levies for the year 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
So the vote is now open. We're just having a little bit of technical difficulties getting it up on the screen. Councillor Regina?
I don't see it.
No, I don't see it either.
So others have voted?
No, it hasn't come up yet.
No?
I'm in favor.
Thank you.
No, hasn't come up. It says vote in progress, but it's not. Do you want to do it? If you want to do it by hand, just let me know.
I have you voted as yes.
Okay, all right.
You're fine.
It's okay. Yes.
I'll close the vote,
I vote.
and that carries, Madam Mayor.
Thanks very much. The vote is carried, and we move on then to item number 18, which is a motion to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting. And I have a motion moved by Councilor Murray and seconded by Councilor Renchima that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 2024-03, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Monday, January 15th, 2024, being read a first, second, and third time, that bylaw number 2024-03 be enacted and passed, that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and the vote is now open.
I'm in favor.
And I will close that vote, and that carries, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Before we motion to adjourn the meeting, do members have any comments? There being none, I have a motion moved by Councilor Renchima, seconded by Councilor Reimer, that the special council meeting on January the 15th, 2024 be adjourned at 20:25 hours. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thank you, and the vote is now open. I'll close that vote. And that carries, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
The motion is carried. The meeting is adjourned, and thanks everyone for attending this evening. This concludes our special council meeting for this evening.